Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday night, September 19th, 2018. The Sharks introduced a new player. They also introduced a new logo. And we're also going to introduce you to giving us any type of question you have about the show, the Sharks, Barracuda, you name it. This is our monthly edition of AMA, Ask Me Anything. Okay, within the boundaries of good taste, please. Submit your questions either in the chat room right now or hit us on the Twitter machine with the hashtag AskTealTown. With me tonight, the other Erik, who spells his name the right way. It's Erik Landy.
Well, if you have any unsavory or untasteful questions, you can always DM me.
Hopefully your girlfriend will be okay with some of those answers or questions.
I didn't say I'd give you the right answer.
No, to go AJ. Hey now. And with me as well, Mr. Chris JWS. Chris, it's been so long since we've chatted.
Yeah, it's been a while. I noticed, though, realistically, though, you should be the second Erik who spells his name the right way, and Landy should be the third, because I would say Carlson kind of moves up the pecking order of Eriks who spell their name the right way, if we're going with that. Just saying.
Very, very true. That is a good point.
He is older than me, slightly.
Yeah.
And just a bit more famous.
No.
Just a skosh, as AJ would say. So, yeah, we will take your questions, and we were going to have a good time tonight as we kind of get things really revved up. The Sharks played a preseason game. The Sharks are headed to Anaheim to play another preseason game tomorrow night, which all begs the question, Landy, are you going tonight or tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night. I do not know if I'll make that pilgrimage. First off, it is still, I don't know, 70, 80 miles to Honda Center, so it's not like I can just make a quick jump up there, but maybe if things coincide, we'll see how much tickets are.
Gotcha. Chris, likewise, same question.
Not making the pilgrimage this time, unfortunately. This has just been my hell week. Like last week was the hell week before that, so you know how it goes.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll hang in there and we'll go from there and everything. Hello to chat and everything. Laurel is saying if you should change your name to Chris, like K-R-I-S or K-H-R-I-S, like Chris Davis of the Oakland Athletics. That would be...
Nah, I don't think so.
So did anybody catch the press conference this afternoon? Yes, we did. We did go over it a little bit earlier today. Me and Chris did, if you want to check that out. But we'll kind of rehash a little bit. Your standard news conference. Nothing crazy coming out of it, but just a quick introduction for Erik Carlson.
We did learn that he likes pizza.
Yes. Well, he's gonna fit in right well in that locker room because Burnsy will just buy the pizza and those two will just eat it.
I just wait for the first dual presser where they're both chowing down pizza.
Right. And it's like, yeah, that was a pretty good pass. Yeah. I just let guys kill. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know that it's going to happen eventually.
Okay, so the real question is going to be, where's it from? Is it Amici's? Is it the official pizza sponsor of Sounds and Sharks? Or is it
Round Table? Oh, shit, not anymore. Sorry. Square jar.
Pizza. Yes, maybe.
4 in the net pizza you get?
Yes. Has any standard press conference have Erik freaking Karlsson? That's true. That's true. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's it does still feel surreal though, doesn't it? Like I'm still kind of like processing that happened.
It's funny that we talk about the press conference, but real question though is, where was Randy? Doesn't he normally do the introductions? And wouldn't you think he would have done that for like the most important Sharks trade since Jumbo?
Sometimes he does it. Sometimes Scott Emmert, who is the head of media relations, will do that as well at times. So, but it was good to would be there, and it's not like Randy wasn't in the building last night. So
Todd Gack in the chat, who scores more goals this season, Carlson or Burns? I'm going to go with Carlson, but not by a wide margin, and I think they're both going to be having a monstrous amount of assists.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to both see both guys reach the 75, 80-point plateau, especially because, if you keep, we have a few projections floating around on defense pairs, but let's say you do go with the Ryan Burns, you go with the Vlasic and Braun, or the Dylan and Carlson line. I mean, look, there's going to have the other team's going to have to go up against one elite offensive defenseman in either Burns or Carlson, so that automatically will keep their point uptick, right? I mean, it'll automatically make their point uptick go, because if you're not keying on one, you got to key on the other. So, that should even out during the course of the season. And then you also have Vlasic Braun to deal with too. So, I see an uptick both in points for sure, especially on power play utilization. We'll see that too. Like I said, 75 points each is probably where I'm pegging them at.
Hashtag no more Vlasic on the power play.
Yeah.
That's true. So how would you, put the lines together for the power play? That's one thing I was trying to figure out today.
Burns and Carlson, the first two forwards, defensemen. And I would probably say Pavs, Couture, Thornton across the top. I'd say probably Kane. Oh my God! And I'm just thinking about this now. The three power forward trio of Hurdle, Kane, and Meyer on the second pair, with LeBanc as one of the point men, and I don't know, Ryan or maybe Braun. I like Braun's shot a little bit more than Vlasic's, to be quite honest.
I don't think that's a controversial opinion at all, though. I mean, and we'll get to the Braun question in a moment, because I think that is a interesting one. But I would say realistically, it should be Burns, Carlson, and Braun that are getting 95% of the power play time on D, and then obviously the best forwards, because just there's no reason to put Vlasic out there. Like that second unit, if it's not getting enough juice, split up Burns and Carlson, play one on each unit.
Or hell, play him 2 minutes. I mean, if Ovechkin can play all 2 minutes of the damn power play, they can too.
Yeah, I would say at a minimum, just make sure at all times during the power play, one of them's out there. Keep that pressure up, and sometimes have them cross over, sometimes have, because I mean the best wisdom says that you're better off playing 4 forwards and 1 defenseman in most cases. So realistically, it should be Burns and Carlson getting almost all of the power play time at D, little bit to someone else, and then the rest should be forwards.
So the fact or fiction question from Iman is Justin Braun gets traded before the deadline. I mean, he's an expendable piece at the moment, but we also have to wonder too. I mean, if they're gonna make the shutdown pair, if they're gonna continue that on with Vlasic and Braun, then I don't see it. I don't see how DW would ship off, Vlasic's best buddy on the blue line. I don't see it. But if they do split them up and it's Carlson and Vlasic on a pair, then more fuel to the fire there for me, at least.
Yeah, I think part of it is, how do you see Vlasic deployed? Because if they break up that pair from the beginning and they see success, I would say that would be the death toll, or not death toll. It's not a terrible thing to get. Yeah, like I would say that would be what would put the nail in the coffin that Braun is either getting traded or when his contract is up. I forget how many years he has left. I'm looking up right now, cap friendly. I want to say it's 2, but I would say if they go with some pairings along the lines of Burns, somebody, Carlson, Vlasic, etc., then I would say the chances of Braun not being here are a lot higher.
Right.
Justin Braun has a $3.8 million cap hit, and that is good through next season, 2019-20.
Yeah, so 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. So 2 years. It wouldn't surprise me to see him shipped off if the right deal presents. Like there is no urgency to do it, especially like the 3.8 number. He, if he was up as a free agent tomorrow, he would probably be getting a raise to, in the 4.5 range at least.
At least, I'm thinking, at least 5. Especially with the cap inflation as it is right now, and everybody, the new $3 million deal is the new $5 million deal. So, I think for me at least that's what I see. And then somebody also Iman brings up a really good point. Tim Heed. I mean, the Tim Heed factor. You've got him still, penciled in as your 7th D man. So, there's definitely a lot of depth organizationally with defense now that you added Carlson. And I just, if it's a commodity that somebody needs and they're willing to give up a center, which I still think that this team needs, that, at least one more bona fide 2B, 3C kind of person, if they can find that out there and they're willing to take on Braun or want Braun, I would do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say take on because it's not like his contract's a burden. Like he's making relatively small amount, and he's not your number 1 or even maybe not your number 2 guy, but he's a really good 3 guy. He's a guy who's gonna can provide really good value between the 3 and the 4 spot.
Yeah. What do you think? Okay, Braun.
It's tough, and I was on another podcast today talking about it because I just love having Vlasic for roughly 20 minutes, Burns for 20 minutes, and Carlson for 20 minutes. It just looks like, it's like, all right, so here comes Marchessault and Carlson. No, Carlson will be out there. All right, here comes Riley Smith up. No, Burns is out there. Here's our 3rd and 4th. No. It's a great problem to have, and no matter how you do it, I think it's pretty solid. But I wouldn't change anything up in particular. Keep Vlasic and Braun together. Keep Burns together with Joachim Ryan. That had a little bit of chemistry going, and then Dylan with Carlson.
Yeah, and this is where I haven't watched enough Senators hockey. Who do either of you guys know who is the personality or the guy that is kind of the right guy to pair with Carlson? Because obviously we kind of figured out who it was with Paul Martin here, who it is for Burns, but I guess who is the right identity to put with Carlson?
Yeah, it's funny that you should really bring that up because the guy that he was towed with, I'm trying to get his name. Hold on. He's on Dallas now. He got picked off of the an expansion draft. Goodness, let me go look here.
Mark Mathot?
There we go. I was going to say CC, but yeah, Mark Mathot, who is not really fleet of foot, to say the least. I would put him as like a Dylan-esque kind of player who's very physical. Good foundationally, defensively, can make a decent first pass, but really isn't asked to do a lot. So, I mean, that's the kind of guy that he was saddled up with.
Okay, so we see the questions stacking up here, so we should probably start going through some of these.
Yeah, so the third line center question was also a pretty good one. Who's going to be the third line center? Do we think it's Suomela? Do we think it is Gambrell, or is it Carlson?
I'm going to actually throw a third name out there that, some people have kind of floated the idea, but I'm like Maxim Latunov. And going into camp, he was a guy that I highlighted as a person that could potentially be a dark horse to steal a spot. And the reason why I say that is because he is a college player. So we know how much the Sharks like to bring in college players. They seem to be more comfortable with a college player, kind of being, a black ace, so to speak, as Gambrell was in the last few games of the season last year. So I could see him maybe sneaking a spot. But, I mean, realistically, Suomela, I think, is the guy that they do have penciled in at that spot right now. I mean, geez, he led the Liga, the Finnish Liga in points. So, that's got to speak for something.
Well, and wasn't Melker Karlsson and Donskoy pretty much the same thing?
Donskoy was from Liga. Melker was from Skellefteå, which is the Swedish elite, and Praplin was. Lacey's going to kill me. He's either, I think he's in the Swiss league. So I mean, they've got some interesting European forwards, and their European scouts have done a really, really nice job. Especially in the last three years, I would say they've really beefed up that department.
Very cool.
So let me go through some other questions here. My thought. Thanks, guys. CC's on the. Okay. Random question. Is what hair a bus from San Jose that takes you? Is there a bus that takes you from San Jose to Gilroy?
Ooh. Let me get back to you on that.
If you asked 2008 Chris, he would have known the answer to this, but I'm well out of college and have a car.
Yeah. I know my uncle actually works for BART, Bay Area Rail Transport or whatever. So he's actually working on the VTA to BART link. That's going to go from Fremont, and then it goes one more down, and then it's going to link over to VTA. So I got that section covered, but I'm not sure if they're going to do any southern expansions to Gilroy. I would assume so, because Gilroy, Morgan Hill, South San Jose, I mean, it's kind of underutilized by a lot of the VTA, infrastructure. So I would assume that would be a thing that'd be on the radar, but, not 100% sure there.
I think, first off, I think Caltrain goes to Gilroy.
Yes, it does.
Okay, Caltrain.
And along with Greyhound as well, which, and I believe both will take you to San Jose Diridon, which is, of course, for those, not in the know, that's directly across the street from the Shark Tank. So, if that's what you were looking for, there you go. I wouldn't be able to tell you how much, but I would say it's probably within, at the most, $17-18.
Yeah, I do know that. I don't know if I don't think there's a VTA bus down there, but I definitely know. Yeah, there is Caltrain. I would have known this a lot better back in college. But I mean, Gilroy is the new South San Jose.
Right.
At least in terms of price.
Well, not only that, but I mean, just the amount of people. I mean, my family has been in the Bay Area since the 30s. I mean, and have seen, when that was literally like, I would have said between apple and pecan and almond orchards. I mean, it was just pretty much that. So
here's a fun question from Sleepy Mofo. Vlasic is considered the second QB or the QB of the second power play.
No,
was he ever? I don't think he's ever considered the quarterback. I mean, it seemed like they kind of put him out there because they knew he was safe and he wasn't going to screw up.
Yeah, I would say it would have been LeBanc. Before they put him up on the first unit, he was kind of quarterbacking that second unit. What do you think, Puckeye?
He was on there, but I didn't think he was the main quarterback. I didn't think there was like a main quarterback in any of that sense. I know they probably tried a little bit with Kevin LeBanc before Jumbo's injury, but yeah, I think he was just a contributor to it, and he contributed pretty well. I will say this: if he kept the puck in the zone, that seemed like a little bit of an issue that he had.
Yeah, especially with the
power
on
play.
the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question is, Eric's Deli any good?
I vote yes, but you guys are the expert on Eric's, so have at it.
What was the sandwich joint that I just had? Ike's.
Ike's is fantastic.
Yeah, I had their like take on a Russian sandwich, so it's like the pastrami with the coleslaw. That was pretty darn decent. My girlfriend is loves their chicken and vegan options. You know, she's a Politarian, so she digs their stuff. I mean,
wait, what?
She's a Politarian, so she eats only chicken. She doesn't eat any pork or beef.
Okay.
I figured you were going to say she eats only Polish people, but okay.
I'm not going to touch that one. Anyhow, yeah, so Ike's definitely. I've had Eric's once, but I had it at the outlet in Gilroy, so it wasn't really like their great location. So I wouldn't really. It was okay, but yeah, I don't really have too much to say on Eric's. Do you guys been to Eric's?
I've had Eric's a while ago. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And you would have to say that they're going to try to get a sponsorship of some sort going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So sure. As long as we're on the gastronomic theme here, say happy almost Oktoberfest, everyone.
Yes, and if you really are like a true aficionado of the German Oktoberfest variety, you will know that Oktoberfest technically takes place at the end of September. King of Bavaria wedding
starts this coming week.
Yep. So my favorite Spaten Oktoberfest. There's also a really good, if you're into the microbrew hoo-ha that we all are, Ballast Point has a really good Oktoberfest-inspired beer called Dead Ringer that's really good. Don't know if it goes all the way up there, but I know that we can get it here in San Diego.
I know we have gotten it up there before when I lived up there, so probably yes. Ballast Point makes a pretty decent Oktoberfest. Sierra Nevada, though, if you want an American Oktoberfest, they make the best one every year.
But honestly, do yourselves a favor. Go over to Bevmo and get yourself either a Paulner or you can get a Spaten Oktoberfest, which is my favorite. But it is the normal take on European beer that is not a Pilsner. So it's got that really malty, rich barley flavor that is for me at least, is the pinnacle of beer. I know a lot of people will say, oh my God, but why not IPAs? I am not the biggest IPA fan. Really, give me a malty, like barley-esque kind of beer and with a little bit of hoppiness. Not too much, but just a skosh. And that's
just
a
skosh of the hops.
Yeah,
and just because of that, I have my Stein up here. You know, just because, yeah, it's that time of year. It's like German Christmas.
I wouldn't know anything about beer. I know. It's scary to say, and I can hear it. Oh my God!
Okay, and back on track. Here we got one from Todd Gack, who is San Jose's toughest competitor in the Pacific Division and the Western Conference in general.
I say Vegas. I think Vegas goes head to head with them completely. I think. You can even say defensively, you can go with Nashville. I mean, we've heard the comparison for the best defense not just in the Western Conference, but in the NHL. You also have Winnipeg. You know, you can't hold them out. I know. There we go with all the INN comments in the chat. But
INN, no, it's usually AOL.
yeah, yes, but I think those three teams realistically. I was thinking, Edmonton if they get really hot and come together, but I don't know. I think the Sharks can take them. LA, not so much. But what do you think, Chris?
I think the two ones that worry me the most are Vegas. Hey, VGK, I see you in the chat there.
Yep.
And Winnipeg. Those are the two that definitely worry me the most. I mean, they were the two best last year. And I mean, Winnipeg is deep as hell. They got, they're really damn good top to bottom. And then, Vegas, I think there's a chance they regress a bit this year, but that club's for real. I mean, they are very, very deep and they're very, very good and they play well. And those are the two teams I think are going to give the Sharks the most trouble. I think the Flames will be annoying because I think they're going to have a bounce back year. The Oilers, honestly, I'm not that impressed by. The Kings will be in there. They'll still be the annoying Kings because they can. Last year they were number one in goals allowed. They can still keep the puck out of the net between Quick and their ability to possess the puck, their defense's ability to clear it out. They can still be a pain. I'm hoping the Ducks finally find their place at the bottom of the division. That would be nice. Well, they might, but Vancouver might have something to say about it. But I think, for me, it's got to be Vegas, got to be Winnipeg.
Did somebody say Vancouver?
God, no. Speaking of Vancouver, though, there will be a division rival previews. We've recorded Vancouver among many others. You should check those out. They're coming out next week on our audio channel, SoundCloud. Go subscribe.
Well, just quickly speaking over the question that we got on Pacific versus Western Conference. For me, I mean, somebody that really shouldn't be slept on is Nashville. I mean, it's not like Nashville just up and left because Winnipeg became, better. I mean, don't get me wrong. Winnipeg is definitely, I think to me, it's a 1A, 1B situation between them and Nashville. I like Winnipeg's forward depth overall a little bit more than I like Nashville's, but I like Nashville's defense overall better than I like Winnipeg, even though Winnipeg's got a pretty stacked deck on D as well. But I think, 1 through 6, Nashville's got a better D core. But the question that I have for both teams is going to be really goaltending. I mean, you've got Connor Hellebuck, who's going to be, really given the reins this year. Last year, he took it up. It was kind of like, okay, that passing the mantle year. This year, it is seriously this is his baby, so he's going to get the full lion's share of games. On the other side, Pecorine, I mean, won a Vezina, but then just fell apart in the postseason. You have UC Saros, who's definitely going to be capable, so we'll see how many games he gets in. As far as the Pacific Division goes, I'm right there with you guys with Vegas. The other team that you're going to really look out for, I think that you should really be looking for is Calgary. I see Calgary as a team that really has something to prove. They got the real deal, James Neal, as a guy that's going to help kind of solidify those young kids. Their D-core is still really good. I mean, I wouldn't say it's as good as ours, but I mean, it's definitely up there. I think that their D-core actually might be better than Vegas is, to be quite honest. But I think Vegas just has a little bit more depth all around. But Vegas is also going to be missing a defenseman. So that there's pros and cons for a lot of the teams. And I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a question mark everywhere. I mean, for the Sharks in general, I think our question mark is going to still be the forward group. It's going to be how much depth. But does that really matter if you've got two of the best offensive defensemen in the league?
It'll still matter. I mean, the two big questions to me are like, how well does Thornton play? And how well does fill in the blank third line center play? Right. I think if both of those answers are good answers, this is a dangerous team. For Vegas, I definitely agree that they could, I think they could slip a little or they could slip a lot. I'm a believer, so I think they won't slip a lot. But if you look at it, of their top 10 scorers from last year, 8 are returning. All 8 are returning, had career years last year. So and then Fleury's getting up there in age. He had a relatively injury-free. He didn't get injured at the worst possible times last year. So those are kind of the two big questions. Be like, bad circumstances could happen, and they could definitely fall back down to earth a little bit more than just a 90. It could happen. I'm a believer, though. I think Vegas will still be right in the fight for the top of the division. I'd actually pick the Sharks now to top the division after the Karlsson acquisition.
Quick, we'll go over the AMA questions a little bit more, but out of the Western Conference, I'd say Sharks are fighting for the Western Conference overall, maybe second place.
They should be.
On the paper, before we see any games, that's kind of where I'm penciling them in to be. That's me, but that's a fully healthy Thornton. That's a Joe Pavelski who's going to be going back. He's going to go back to his previous form, which may or may not happen. There was a lot of injury, scuttlebutt last year that we heard with him, especially with the hands, which is where he makes his money. So it'll be interesting. But if fully healthy, this roster should compete for the top spot in the West.
Agreed, yeah. So just to respond to Phantom in the chat, said VGK was missing 3 goalies last year and they still didn't die. I realize that, but at the same time, it usually doesn't go that way. Like they managed to make it work, but it's like saying like, hey, I didn't wear a seatbelt as a kid and I didn't die. that doesn't mean it was a good idea.
But I think the other thing that you should also bring up, Chris, which is a really good point, is regression to the mean on shooting percentages. William Karlsson's not going to be shooting at the same clip he was, and
that comes down to all the guys having career years, because him and several others they all had really good years, and hey, all respect to them. But shooting percentages, they tend to fall more down to earth at some point. Right. Joe Pavelski's 40-goal year, he was shooting at an insane clip.
Mm-hmm. Right, and we all know that the regression to the mean is kind of a bitch when it happens, because it happens hard.
Regression to the mean is not undefeated, but has a solid 500 record.
Remember that year Colorado was the outlier, and it was the anti-statistics whipping boy, and then the next year completely fell apart. So
they call that the PDO Cup. Every year, some team wins the PDO Cup. It's some team that doesn't belong in the playoffs but managed to get all the good luck.
Yeah. Quickly, another good one from Cheryl. Banker improved this season. Yeah. Quietly had a really good season last year. I know he got a lot of flack from a lot of people wanting him to shoot more. But look, when you don't have Joe Thornton, you got to have a distributor of the puck. Hey, and you know what? He did a fairly good impression from my perspective as far as able to dish. So, I think we see an uptick in goals this year. I wouldn't put it past him to be a 50-55 point player. I'd love to see a 30-20 split from him, 30 goals, 20 assists. I think that's in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
So Sleepy Mofo, it's not phrased as a question, but I do like this. Call me skeptical of Samela, but him at third line center doesn't have a lot of NHL experience. We might miss Tierney. And I share the concern to some extent, but I'll let you talk since you know the prospects way better than I do.
Big asterisks for everybody who doesn't know this. Finnish ice is not full European ice. Finnish ice is 85 by 200. It is not the one. I think it's 100 by 200. So it's not as bad of an adjustment, and especially for a forward, not as bad as an adjustment as you would think. So Liga, in my perspective, is the best European league to make the adjustment. I'm not saying they have the most talent, but I'm saying it's the easiest to adjust to from, European ice to North American ice. So while I do share that, I think he's going to be okay.
Erik, your hot take on the matter.
Banker, shoot the puck.
Hell yeah.
Last night he had a little bit, but he also passed a little bit too. So that's interesting. It's more of a comment, but I'll throw this at you. Charles Richards in the chat says, I think DW will go after a third line center at the deadline if what he currently has isn't working out. I mean, I kind of agree. That's probably essentially what DW's trade move would be when we get to February 26th. What do you guys think? I'll start with you, Chris.
I agree 100%. I think it goes back to what we were saying about Braun earlier, is I think that the two things that will tell you if Braun's going to be traded is, one, how expendable he becomes just because of the way pairs work out, but two, if that need at third line center rears his ugly head and says, no, that hole is bigger than you thought and we missed Tierney, that's where Braun is the perfect piece to move, because you could move him. You know, you have plenty of defense. He's got a cheap enough contract. And a lot of teams would love to have him for, $3.8 million a season for the next 2 years. I would say that would be the move, would be to find a suitor who wants Braun, who will help fill that third line center hole if it is too big, because you don't make a move for Carlson like this if you're not going for it. And if you're willing to make that move, of course you're willing to trade Braun for a third line center.
Guys, I find this really interesting, and somebody brought this up. I think it was the Dudes on Hockey, but it was really, really, really interesting and smelled totally of Doug Wilson. But you know who's still on the free agent market right this second? Rick Nash. Now, the Sharks have had some flirtations with Rick Nash before. Not going to be the Rick Nash of, 5-6 years ago. However, you get another piece like that, you get him to play with Jumbo on your second line, because I'm not calling Jumbo a first line center anymore. I see him as a two center. You get him and Jumbo together, kind of interesting. That makes another, forward drop down, whether that's Pavs or whether that's Kane, then it's a trickle down effect, and that doesn't cost a player. You could bring him in on like $1 million, $1.5 million kind of deal and say, hey, look, Rick, you want a chance at the big one? You want to play with your buddy from Switzerland? Kind of interesting. That smells like a DW move to me. But the other thing too is, guys, look, how easy was it to pick up Eric Fair? I mean, those guys are pretty easy to come by.
Well, they're pretty easy to come by in the sense of like they exist out there, but you have to sort through a lot of not so great guys, and there's a lot of misses out there too. That's the trick, is finding that diamond in the rough, because those exist. It's just finding those guys. But I think, yeah, I completely agree. Rick Nash could be interesting. There's a lot of that's really the only question for me, is how does the bottom six go?
Antoine Vermette is also floating around. Sleepy Mofo, really good. Also, that's a good guy. There are options. There are options.
Well, we could always trade our 2029 pick for a top tier center. I mean, at this point, like I'm waiting for when Doug Wilson acquires the next big one. It's like he traded picks from 2041 and a conditional 2042 pick. Like, it's not even 2020 yet, Doug.
and I don't even think he can trade more than 3 years out. Oh, never mind. Charles just said it in there.
Yeah, you can't
trade picks more than 3 years out, which is crazy. Alicia saying Nash hasn't officially retired. I don't think he's just not being picky about where to play. That's true. And for that matter, what if he were to sign in San Jose? And this is way out there. First off, I'm surprised nobody's offered him a PTO, to be honest.
Right.
But
money.
Right. But also the question is, he wears 61. What do you wear in San Jose?
62.
Yeah,
the bank. So that's just another thing to think about there.
I mean, I like that the Sharks do have options though, because I like the roster as it is right now. Like I like the roster before the Carlson move. I was like, okay, this is probably a solid second to third place team in the Pacific, no problem. This, as long as it doesn't go off sideways because of an injury or something happening. But now I really like this as a real contender, especially, if they make the adjustment at the trade deadline if needed. And, give Doug Wilson credit. Like, I know we bash him a lot for his draft record, but his record for acquiring players through trade, really dang good. Like, really, really good.
And his draft record does take a lot of heat, but, let's also not forget that he does turn some of those questionable draft picks into players. I mean, into bona fide players. I mean, you trade Josh Norris for Erik Karlsson, Josh Norris and Rudolph Balcers for Erik Karlsson. Like, what? I mean, they were never going to be that kind of player. So,
and as long as they're contending, I don't have that big of an issue with them trading draft picks because, like, these are always going to be late first round. These aren't going to be Connor McDavid range picks.
Right, of course. I mean, the Sharks will never get that kind of a pick unless they're going full rebuild, and Doug has repeatedly stated that that's not going to happen. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm just.
I mean, somebody put up the Gen X like, because he needs to be known. Someone's complimenting Wilson. He must come in and angrily bash him.
Look, guys, some interesting kind of things up here. But Nick Shore, somebody who we've seen in the Pacific Division, wasn't given a qualifying offer. He's a UFA. He's 25 years old, and was a decent prospect at some point. That could be a guy that, the Sharks could target. I mean, look, there's a lot of options right now. And it's the beginning of camp, or I mean, fairly early in camp. I think we just got to kind of see where it goes, especially opening night.
Completely agree.
It helps if I unmute myself. I was going to say, a couple things in the chat. Todd Gack says 69.
Yeah, hilarious.
It's funny because it's But Sleepy Mofo saying the weak draft selections are more in Tim Burke or more in DW or both. I would say obviously both, but realistically, if you're the GM, the buck stops there. And I guess here's the thing I always say: like, I haven't seen a really good quantitative analysis of Doug Wilson's draft record comparing it to other teams, because we can talk about all the misses we want, but without a kind of a quantified, this many players make the NHL, this many players make the like really good quantified how well his draft record actually is. It's really hard to say he's that bad, because if you look at a lot of organizations, they're pretty freaking bad at drafting too. And it's a matter of, I know more about it in football, where it's like, if you get a handful of players who are solid roster players out of a draft, that's pretty good. Even if, you draft 10 players and 3 are good, that's still, that's not bad. It's like, it's like batting average in baseball.
So ESPN.com, they've got a fairly good stable of writers for NHL. I mean, I know that their TV personalities aren't great for hockey, but ranked the Sharks pretty high up there at third best drafting and developing. For a long time, the Sharks had one of the highest man games and man hours per draft, out of draft selections. I think them and Detroit were the two highest for a really long time, and that was still while the Sharks were being really good. So I don't know how many, I don't know exactly what that's based off of, but I put the Sharks in the upper third of the NHL as far as drafting and developing. I mean, I know we give them a lot of crap, but they do convert on a lot of late round picks.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Saying is if it's like, well, they miss on 2/3 of their picks, but if the league average is missing on 3/4 of your picks, then it's not nearly as bad as it might look. But I mean, that I'm just saying is, and I don't know what the actual numbers are. And yeah, I would be curious. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I have to maybe dig it up someday and find out what the actual thing is. But it doesn't surprise me that, at least in some respects, it isn't horrible. And in the end, I know like AJ harps on this, like saying, homegrown D-men, he had to trade for Burns. It was like, well, he traded homegrown guys for Burns and some draft picks, whatever, got an all-star defenseman. I don't really care how he got here. So
here's from 2000 to 2012, total drafted players that made it. This is from what it says. 95 players. It says games played 9,328, points 3,893. 26 of 95 players drafted since 2000 have played 50 plus games in the NHL. 22 of 95 since 2000 have played 100 plus games in the NHL. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Of 95 drafted. Okay, so 26 out of 95, or a little more than 27% have played 50 plus games. So that's fairly decent. I mean, just kind of looking through it. So
Charles in the chat saying ESPN also currently ranks Sharks 6 in the Pacific in prospect pool, which I would say, I mean, here's the thing is, often if you look at who's at the bottom of the league in prospect pools, though, there's usually a handful of bad teams, but there's a lot of really good teams. Usually it's the annual contenders. Like I know 2 or 3 years ago they were bashing the Penguins prospect pool for being horrible. It's like, if you're an annual contender, it will just inevitably take its toll in there. I do like Villy in the chat, though. ESPN still does hockey, like allegedly. I can't verify this.
The other note, though, I want to really put on prospects, which a lot of people don't really think about when they're thinking about prospects and about how they're developed. It's also the system in which they're developed. Not only the system, but it's also the players that are around them when they develop. Because let's say you take a Kevin LeBanc, right, who, he had a really awesome junior career, but he's kind of a middling prospect. I wouldn't say that he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I also wouldn't say he's like the worst, bum 7th round pick ever. So if you put him in an environment, say, of like Ottawa or like Edmonton, or heck, Calgary 3 or 4 years ago, that kind of prospect maybe doesn't develop. But if you surround him with a Joe Thornton or a Joe Pavelski or a Logan Couture, people that have basically taken a lot and created, taken a lot of work ethic and made that their skill in their game and really developed talent on work ethic, then a guy like Kevin LeBanc can shoot up your system, can be a really good player. Conversely, though, you take a guy like Connor McDavid, he's going to be good wherever he plays. So, it really, for those upper echelon talent picks, it doesn't really matter where you put them. You want to put them in a good winning environment, but, if you don't have like a superstar player to kind of pair them with, not that big of a deal. But when you're talking about that middle section of prospect pool, it really, really has to do with environment, has to do with management, has to do with how they manage themselves and what kind of development and kind of coaches they surround them with. So that's something that a lot of people don't put stock of. That's why a team like the Sharks can take those middling picks and develop them into Joe Pavelski's of the world.
So Illuminato saying, hey, clean your room. Sorry, I had to interject with that.
One of the things for that matter, and I think we mentioned this when we interviewed Doug Wilson in the summer, is that, we don't usually get the top 10 picks. So it's tough to get those surefire gems, but the Sharks have found them in a way. And it's something very unique to get out of the system.
So Rob Iman in the chat asking, anyone go down to Santa Cruz for afternoon before the game? And he just retracted his message, but I don't. Is Santa Cruz a euphemism for something I'm not aware of, or?
Oh, and I just want to bookend the prospect talk with just this little nugget for everybody. I want to leave this with people. The first thing that stands out to the Sharks is that they've had 10 less picks than the league average between 2000 and 2012. In fact, the Sharks actually have the third least picks of all teams, what makes it more impressive that they outperform the league average in every stat category. Their success rate of 23%, this is 23% conversion on picks, ties them for the 10th highest in the league, but their average point per player and games played ranking ranks them 4th or 5th best in the league.
Well, there you go. And one of the things that always drives me nuts whenever we're down the dumps and angrily ranting about the Sharks draft record, inevitably someone goes like, well, we drafted this person. One person after that was taken was this guy who's this great player, and good gosh, that just drives me up the wall, because that can literally be said about almost every team ever, because that is a thing. Like, all the best teams have passed, every single NFL team passed on Tom Brady. That doesn't mean anything at all.
Or every single NHL team passed on Jamie Benn 4 times.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying like it justifies them taking whatever player before, but it's like that is the ultimate hot draft take is, if they'd taken this player that was on the board, or this player that was taken after, is like, yeah, again, everyone passed on Tom Brady, everyone passed on Joe Montana. There's numbers and numbers and numbers of players who are fantastic, who are passed on by every single team in their given league, and it's something that happens. I'm not saying like that means the pick was a good one. It just means that like that is a pretty lazy hot take. See more talk about Santa Cruz. Rob Iman says Santa Cruz is 30 minutes away from the tank. Well, yeah, if there's no traffic, as Alicia points out.
Is this a euphemism for cannabis? I'm just gonna put that out there.
Like, do we need a euphemism for cannabis anymore? Because like, I'm sorry, it's legal in all of California now.
Right.
Here's some puck guy bait. What did you think of the AllStar logo?
Oh yeah, we should have this discussion.
Okay.
I'll leave this one to you guys because I'm just so indifferent to logos.
All right. Well,
so for the next, block off your next half hour.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go grab another beer and I'll be back in about 20 minutes.
You can probably get
I might
too.
Yeah. Well, and this just got to me not too long ago. Obviously, you saw the one that has the Honda logo on it. This is the one that I'm about to show you isn't being shown just yet, so we're going to kind of show it right now. But it is the AllStar logo without the branding on it. So that's why I kind of put it on here as we speak. So, okay, so it's not exactly the AllStar logo that you come and expect, but it definitely got some sneaky little tidbits on there, and I'll thank the league and my good friend Chris Creamer over at sportslogos.net as to how this goes down. But basically, so just keep an eye on this logo. Obviously, you see the logo; it's shaped like a mobile app icon. The 2019 is encapsulated in red to resemble app notifications. So that's an app. You have 2019 notifications on it. This is the one that kind of surprised me. This Tech Energy Wave, which is the multicolor one that you see in 2 types of teal, that light blue, that fire, that fluorescent red, and a couple of oranges and yellows. It's inspired by today's cloud-based virtual tech world. of course, you see in the All-Star, there are two fins in the A's, not quite the exact way you normally would see it, kind of like on our Teal Town logo that represents the fins for representing for the Sharks. And that's pretty much the representation outside the teal and the fins of the Sharks representation of it. If you want to check out the info guide, make sure you hit up sportslogos.net. I'll have an article up on it a little bit later tonight on tealtownusa.com. Another one I'll also throw out to you, and so that way you can get a little bit of a comparison, is the French version, Étoile de la So, Landy, I'll go to you before we go to the chat. What do you think of this logo?
To be quite honest, like, I'm not too disappointed in the logo. I feel it's pretty modern. From an aesthetics point, it's pretty clean. I like the fin touches. I would have, like everybody is saying, I would have loved to seen a few palm trees floated in there. I think that would have been cool. I would have liked to have put maybe, I guess maybe an homage to SAP Center, because are we in year 25 of SAP?
Yep, this is the 25th anniversary of SAP Center.
Yeah, so I would have loved to have seen some love for the SAP Center on there, and maybe making the fins a little bit more prominent in the logo somehow. But overall, like, I give it a solid B minus. It could have been a lot worse. But there are certainly some more aspects that I would have liked to have seen. Maybe instead of having one of those kind of rounded lines, let's say where the A is, put a palm tree and make that kind of the line, that defining line on the left-hand side. Other than that, I mean, I like the design aesthetics. Like I said, it's very clean. I like the color schemes. Not too many conflicting colors.
Yeah. Looking at it and looking at the chat and what people are saying. Todd Gack, I hated it. Let's see. It would have been nice if they had a fin. Like I said, there are two sneaky fins in the A's for All-Star, but not as prominent. In the last few years, the NHL has really kind of gotten away from really having that team representation. If you look at Nashville, they really played off of the guitar pick. Right. Last year Tampa kind of went with like a pirate-ish theme, kind of play off the Buccaneers, and what was it? The Gasparilla Festival was happening at the same time, where Erik Karlsson was down there for the All-Star game dressed as a pirate. But let's see what else.
Interject real quick because it requested, but he's not having much of it. Got the kitty here.
Oh,
say hi to everyone. This is Edgar, everyone, new member of the Teal Town team. He helps us out with stuff. I don't know. Oh, you'll see him now and again.
Breaking news: Canadians Max Domi may face supplemental discipline after bloodying Panthers Aaron Ekblad. He punches him in the face. He was ejected and might get supplemental discipline. He certainly does live up to that Domi last name, doesn't he?
That's for sure. I mean, shoot, and he's knocked some people out pretty good. I remember the fight he had with Kessel when he was in Arizona. So,
hey, Puck Guy, I have seen another All-Star Game logo. I'm going to send it to you in the DMs, but do you know of what this one is all about? Hold on.
Okay.
I've seen this guy floated.
And while he's pulling this one up, if you have any questions that we haven't answered or you have any new questions, start posting them in the chat. Sorry if we missed any of your questions. We're doing our best.
That's coming from a ticket reseller.
Yeah, that's coming from a ticket reseller. I know which one you're talking about. This was leaked out. It is not an official one. Actually, it was somebody's graphic design idea, and they really got elaborate on their that they even made jerseys, tickets, the Super Skills challenge logos as well. And I'm sure if you've seen it, you know which one I'm talking about. No, that's not it. Where is it? Somebody vamp for me for a sec.
Yeah, so I mean, how many All-Stars do we think we're going to have? Todd Gack asking. Well, customary, everybody's got to bring one, right? But I would assume that Carlson's got to be one. I would say Burns is going to be one. Maybe a farewell lap for Joe Thornton or Joe Pavelski. Who knows? But
and who knows about if Logan Couture or Evander Kane get on a good start,
or Marc-Edouard Vlasic if he's paired with Carlson.
Well, if Vlasic is going to have a hard time making it just because he's got two guys and like he manages to be the third best defenseman on this team, which is ridiculous. But I would say Couture, Carlson. I would say Carlson and Burns are almost a lock.
Yeah,
I would say those two are a lock. Maybe Couture. Maybe Jones might be in the discussion, depending on how every other goaltender in the division is doing.
Oh, Erik brings up a good question. Erik Rosenblatt, Jones winning a Vezina. I mean, but behind this defense, maybe.
If he has a spectacular year personally behind this defense, I would say yeah. If he has an average year,
I think
there's going to be guys who will be ahead of him.
Yeah, but I think you're exactly right, Chris. I think it's going to really depend on, if he's going to really break into another level that we haven't seen. This will have to be like 2016 playoff Jones for the whole year.
Yeah. If he has a outstanding year where, on top of what his defense is doing for him, he makes a lot of outstanding saves and is able to have, really high save percentage, near the top of the league, at least top three, maybe. But it would, you also have to overcome that East Coast bias thing, because we know that even when guys out West play really well, the bias can get in the way.
Just ask Nabby a few years ago.
Yeah, Erik, I mean, thanks for getting this up there. This looks almost reminiscent to the original Sharks All-Star logo. And
it's
got homage to it.
Yeah, it does have an homage to it. And I'll try to pull this up because it was a part of somebody's, I think it was like a Behance project. I mean, the guy had the person who designed it made jerseys, tickets, you name it.
I mean, that looks pretty dope. I mean, I would get a jersey with just that patch on it. I mean, that's
it is a little complex. I'll say that. I'm gonna pull up the Behance and go with it here. Again, this is a concept. Let's remind everybody that about it. So here we go. There we go. So it was this was the design, of course, the logos for the divisions, which for the icon.
I'm really digging that teal jersey, but it's that's going to be the other thing, is it's going to be really, really interesting to see what they come up with for jersey designs this year.
Yep, and it'll be quite interesting about how it works. But the guy or the gal who did this, or I'm sorry, there we go, Carlo Cuccoza, did a heck of a job of getting all kinds of stuff together for everything. Thought of pretty much everything for it. So kudos to him. it's a little bit better, but I get what they're trying to do. That logo is a little complex, though.
There's
some elements that could have.
Yeah, there's a lot of lines in it. I think there's a lot of trying to flowing kind of lines, which if he would have taken a little bit of softer approach instead of using that harsh white, I think that would have been a really, really good add to that logo. But yeah, I mean, going back to the logo though, just to kind of put a bow on it. Yeah, like I said, it's not the worst thing that I've ever seen. It's not like the leaked third jersey, maybe. I don't know, but I feel like if what we think is the third jersey is the third jersey, that's kind of a miss. I think that this logo's design aesthetics is a lot nicer than that. So that's me.
Well, I kind of have to admit that I do know the one of the heads of Adidas hockey in regards to the jersey design. So I don't know how much was said that's more on the Shark side or Adidas's opinion. I'm going to hold reserve judgment, and I think we can hold reserve judgment until Sunday. It has to be coming out on Sunday,
right?
In time for Fan Fest. But yeah, I mean, my thing. I wish there was more teal to it. Of course. Yeah, I think the circuit board pattern on the third jersey, I think it's actually a pretty novel idea. It's hidden enough that it doesn't stand out. It's similar to what Carolina has for their home jersey with the storm flag pattern. It adds a little bit to the city of San Jose, but I don't know. I think there could be a little bit more put to it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like you talk about the circuit board pattern, but the first thing that I thought of was off-road tire tread. I mean, it just was not executed well. But anyhow, that's for another show. Going over quickly, what about Anders Lee as a guy that the Sharks might trade for? We do know that DW has connections with Uncle Lou, so to speak. So maybe there's a match there. I think another guy you could look at is Jordan Eberle, because he's going to be another guy that's going to be unrestricted. That could be an interesting pickup. It's another winger, but, we have a bunch of centers that we can move around. So maybe. Quickly, Sleepy Mofo, the weakness of the draft selections, is that more on Tim Burke or DW or both? We've talked about that ad nauseum. That a lot of these selections have Burke's fingerprints all over them. We know the kind of guy that he picks. That's why it's really interesting. And if you haven't already gone and seen it, the draft preview and the little draft videos that they have, you really see DW Jr. stepping up and really taking more of a consensus approach. You look at Mush and Brad Marshman really going to bat for Merkley, and it seems to me that he's taking a little bit more input, consensus input from people, which I think is a little bit better. I mean, don't get me wrong, Burke has gotten some really good players, and especially in the positions that he's drafted in, but there's also some questionable ones too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went over the AllStar logo. Mike Nevis, Francis Perron? What's the deal with him?
I have some info on him. In the last couple of seasons, he's been in the AHL, first with the Binghamton Senators, and then he moved on with the team to Belleville. The last 2 seasons in the pros, he's got 41 points, 10 goals, 31 assists, 41 points for the franchise that was once in Binghamton, now currently in Belleville. Most likely he's going to be in with the Barracuda.
Yeah, I would assume he's going to be an AHLer, unless he wows the pants off people, but still, a tweener, is what I'll put him as. I mean, maybe he's better than John McCarthy. He's got a better ceiling than John, but, that's kind of the first comparable I thought was McCarthy.
Yeah.
Was what I thought. Okay, I guess should we end on the Fear the Fin question?
No, we should
No.
answer it. But any other questions in the chat? Let's make it happen now. Sounds
Yeah,
like
we'll
we
do
just gotta
lightning
more
round
season.
here. So ask them, we answer them. Again, don't get us in trouble.
Yes, please.
With significant others or the Sharks organization, either one, please don't.
Hey, we've been doing pretty good. We've cut down on the swearing. We've kept our discussions pretty civil. So we're going to continue to do that because, you know, there are, and we won't name any names, but there is a little bit more competition now, and that
I wouldn't even bring it up.
Oh, do you I was wondering, do you fear a Finge?
Oh boy.
No, say,
so-
as far as Fear the Fin goes, our publicly stated position, as always, is hey, there's plenty of room for all of us among Sharks media because honestly, those who do this for real pay don't cover the Sharks. So hey, more coverage is good coverage as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, you
I mean,
know what,
Brody can only do so much, and let's be honest, it's just really Brody, along with the writers that do it.
Yeah,
so
Pashelka is always on the front line, and if you haven't already, go subscribe to the Merc and go subscribe to the Athletic with Kurz. I mean, Kurz as a writer, I mean, since he's joined the Athletic, has really grown leaps and bounds. I mean, he's gone from a person that I really didn't like reading his stuff to, wow, he's actually making some really good points. He's got some really good extrapolations. I mean, he's really had to step up his game. So
I think he's a little more independent because, I mean, let's be honest, and I'm not mean as a dig at him previously, just simply stating the fact that old school sports media, there is a certain kind of relationship. There's a certain expectation around the industry of how you behave and what you do and don't say, those types of things. So I think it's kind of allowed him to be a little bit more himself, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the affiliations with the team, right? Because, let's face it, the sports network and the team have a certain bond, and the team wants to have a certain image, which it's their right. I mean, they pay a lot of money or get paid a lot of money. I mean, there's a lot of money that exchanges hands. So,
yeah, I'll be honest, and I get nothing from the Athletic for saying this. It's worth the subscription fee. If you're even on the fence about it, I'd say go get it because it's not that much, and honestly, the content's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
especially if only just for the Sharks, but just in general, it's pretty good content.
Yeah, it's like that ESPN Insider, what it used to be, and now that kind of fell off, and I think the Athletic kind of picked up its place. Puck guy?
Yeah. Just going through these really quick. Cheryl, Brody's interview is on his YouTube channel. He did post that up, so it's an interesting find. Go check that out. Sleeping
on podcasts.
Yeah, his YouTube.
Oh no, he's also got it on his podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sleepy Mofo, would you think Pat goes to center anytime this season and Joe moves to the third line center if the bottom six falters?
I don't see it. I don't see how they break them up. Chris, what are your thoughts on Joe and Joe?
Honestly, I think that since Thornton is kind of in his final couple years, I have a hard time believing they're going to break them up. If they break them up, I think it's going to be hard to find another guy who works so well with Joe Thornton because those two, they don't have like the Sedin level connection where it's like this creepy telepathic thing, but
it's close.
It's the next level down. It's 100% less creepy, and they're not gingers, so it's good.
Yeah, jeez.
And they're both Joe.
Vince G in the chat saying Athletic Curse the best Curse. I tend to agree.
Yeah, I agree. Alicia, are we gonna bring that up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Carlson gets an A. There's a pretty established pecking order in the Sharks as far as the leadership goes. If you see Carlson maybe with his long-term deal, let's say he inks that 8-year deal. LeBron put out a really good story about that. He can't ink an 8-year until after the trade deadline. There's some CBA fiddly fosh in there. So go check that out. But if he gets that extension, long extension, I could see a blast. I could see a Burns, Carlson, Couture, set of captains maybe. I mean, up in the air. But if you have a long-term contract, that normally means you're probably part of the leadership core.
Yeah, and I've said this a million times before. The letters are symbolic. They are kind of an honor, but they know who the leaders in the locker room are, whether they have an A or not. If a guy's a leader, he's a leader.
That John Scott, Alex Stalock interview that was floating around from Minnesota brought it up completely crystal clear. When Joe got stripped and they had the players only vote, Joe got, Jumbo got the vote again to be the captain. So that just kind of goes to show you what those letters actually mean.
Well, said that at the time, still say it to this day, the Thornton captain stripping was just a make a move for the sake of making a move. There was a bunch of that right after that meltdown. There was a bunch of we have to make a move, whether we need to or not. We just got to do things to make it look like we're doing something different. And I think they've been better about that the last couple of years, especially when they missed on Tavares in free agency. They didn't do, we have to overpay someone quick to make it look like, compensate for the fact that we didn't get the move we wanted. So that type of stuff just happens too much, but lately not as much.
Yeah.
Boca Negra.
Yeah.
X.
Yeah. Do we ever travel to see the Sharks? Well, Puck Guy is local, and of course he makes his 45-minute commute back and forth to go see the Sharks.
I wish it was 45. That's
probably more like an hour.
Dude, don't talk to us about how long your commute is to see the Sharks. It's like 7 hours minimum from here.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So Chris and I originally hail from the Greater North, so I try and get up there once every 2 to 3 months. And yes, I have made the annual or biannual or even sometimes triple annual pilgrimage to the SAP Center. We also go to the Southern California games as well. So we have the goals now, so we can see the Barracuda. We go to see the Duckies. I will not go to Staples because I do not feel like getting shanked, but that's me. Chris, I don't know if you differ on that.
I like getting shanked. I don't know about you. Whatever. But I will probably, because of work bringing me up north, I will probably be at the Buffalo San Jose game in mid-October. Hopefully that all works out because I will definitely go to a game if I can. But I come up probably every other month still because I still have family and tons of friends and all that in the Bay Area.
Definitely. Let's see. Is it voice only or live with pitch? No. Hey, AJ, what did you think of the club tasting? They had solid beer selections. That's what AJ was saying in the chat. The food was pretty decent. I really like the food, right? I really like the hot dog that had the bacon jam, pico de gallo, and shredded cheddar cheese. That was good. The Korean cheesesteak sandwich was pretty good as well.
For sure. That sounds like kimchi and cheesesteak.
Oh, bulgogi
kimchi and cheesesteak, and with some Korean mayonnaise aioli. That was that was pretty fancy. They didn't roll out too much last night at the preseason game, so it remains to be seen what's going to be out there. But I will say some of the prices did go up a little bit. So.
Yeah, I got the more premium feel from the pictures and just all the press info that we got. But it does look like the quality went up, and that's good because the food selection, they have their main staples at the tank. Togo's has always been a staple there, or getting pizza classics or whatever, but there was a need for an injection of new food, so it's nice to see that they're hearing that.
I've always been in the camp of if I'm gonna have to overpay for my food or drink, I'd rather overpay a bit more and get really good stuff.
Right.
That's and that's where I think SAP Center's kind of been lacking a bit. It's like you're gonna overpay no matter what. So maybe give me an option for a $13 beer instead of a $10 beer, and I'll go ahead and splurge on something that's a little bit better.
Right. And I mean, if you're gonna go to the a night at the tank, I'm easily gonna be spending two bills, $250 at least. So it's like, I if I'm going into that knowing that, I want to have some good food options. I liked I saw some pictures of the new kind of like waffle fry things that they've got going on with the chicken tenders. Those look really good. And like I said, if I know I'm going in and I'm going to be spending a lot of money on something, I'm going to want it to be a nice night, especially if the Sharks win, because then it's all around good. You have good experience. So,
yeah.
And there should be a lot of winning with the number 65 on the team.
Yes. And speaking of 65, it was asked in the chat, percentage that Carlson does re-sign with San Jose.
I'm going to say 95%.
Yeah.
I just don't think Doug trades for him if he doesn't think he's going to do it.
I mean, I'm going to put 85. I mean, I unless they're, I don't know. I rank it pretty high. I mean, like I said, 85%, I think his wife is going to really love it in the Bay Area. I think he's going to really love it too. Mm-hmm. And from everything that we've heard from other people coming to this organization, like it is just top notch with what they do and how they prepare, how they train, what kinds of technologies they have available. I mean, from what I've heard, that we're pretty close to Toronto as far as like sports medicine stuff goes. So that's a pretty big compliment.
And also the fan base is into it, but they're not into it like Toronto. You'll get yelled at on the street if you had a bad game into it. Like it's a fan base that's supportive, but it's not like overly intrusive and yelling at you on the street.
Same with the media, right? You don't have a lot of media pestering you. You've got the same guys that you know and love. I mean, Pashelka and Purdy used to, but Purdy or Kurz or the new guy from NBC, Marcus White or something.
Yeah, Marcus White. He's formerly of Fear the Fin.
Fear the Fin. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe us if we get some more media credentials, but it's pretty familiar guys, and it's guys that are pretty respectful. They don't really get in your face like the Toronto and the Montreal and the Edmonton. So there's that.
Yeah, it's the same reason why I said like if there's a market Evander Kane could succeed in, it's here.
Oh right.
Because you don't have press that's trying to bait you into doing something. You don't, into saying something or reacting. You don't have fans that are going to yell at you for having a bad game. Well, you have a few, but not many. But it's a place where there's a fan base, but there isn't that kind of overwhelming presence of like, oh gosh, just make these guys go away.
Yeah, Seto was broadcasting yesterday with Ruzanowski. If you guys did not check out the stream, it was pretty good. Now, I will put this out there. You can get around geolocks. If you want more information, DM me.
Slide into Landy's DMs for how to break geolocks.
Yes, exactly. And somebody else had it posted in there too. NHL.TV subscriptions, getting discounts and stuff like that. I can also help you out with those kinds of things. Not saying I know how, but I might have some ideas.
And let's not get into trouble with that.
Right, exactly. So ideas, they may or may not work.
So. Yeah.
But I fully endorse paying for your NHL content as much. No, I'm seriously saying that. I endorse paying for it. You guys all know from the private chats, I'm a big proponent. Say I pay for the Athletic, I pay for NHL, I pay for. It's like, yeah, I'd rather just do it on the up and up and not pay for all this crappy cable crap that I don't watch. Like I'll pay for the content I want.
Pay for it, but don't pay full price for it. Is my opinion.
Be smart about your shopping, but pay for the content you want. Like, don't, it's silly to buy a full price cable subscription that'll have a bunch of crap you'll never watch. You'll spend less buying just the stuff you do want.
Yeah, as AJ says, Landy knows a guy who knows a guy. Yeah, I know people.
Yeah, he's part Italian, so.
Yeah, we got yeah, you know,
Don't forget about it.
Yeah, my family are Southern Italians. You know, we could get you a Rolex that fell off a cart or something. You know, who knows?
Oh boy.
You don't want this NHL subscription that fell off the back of a truck, you know.
It's still as good as a real thing. It's got a warranty. Come on now, people.
The Flames games are occasionally fuzzy, but other than that, it's a perfect NHL subscription.
Right?
Why am I seeing Nick Antropov on the Jets still though? What the?
Right? What the hell is that?
Boy.
I don't know. But
why does this thing promote TJ Gagliardi games to me? What the hell?
Daniel Winnick still a Shark? What? Yes, but somebody really actually they are streaming the preseason games, but you know, you have to be geolocated within the San Francisco Bay Area or outside of the continental US. So that's how they're doing the streaming portion. And it might not even be North America either, because I know that Ian has had some issues giving streams too, and he's Canadian, so they get all the good stuff.
They get the premium content.
Right.
My boy got the premium NHL content.
Yeah, exactly.
All righty. I think we will call it a night here. So final thoughts and where the people can find you. We'll start with you, Chris.
You can find me at ChrisJWS on Twitter. My final thoughts is, oh my gosh, is the season going to start yet? But also, you should check out the interview series we're going to have coming up. Going to be released in about a week's time on our SoundCloud, Tealtown USA on SoundCloud. I've been in on most of them, not all of them, but most of them, and we've talked to various podcasters and such around the division, talking about their teams and what's going on. There's a few people you've seen before, a few people you haven't seen yet, so be sure to check that out. And yeah, final thoughts is it regular season yet?
Landy.
You can find me at my first name and my last name all together on Twitter. So that's at Erik Landy. If you search all of your social media platforms, it's Erik Landy. I make no qualms about who I am. I have nothing to hide. You can come and find me.
Is that a dig at me, Landy?
No, it's a dig at Hockey Jerk. But anyhow.
Well, it's okay. He is a jerk.
Well, right. And he says he's the best one, yet we don't really know who he is. So, like, how can that be a thing?
He's actually Doug Wilson Jr.
Oh, that could be. We'll never know. But no, seriously, I am really excited to get the season up and going. We also are going to have some other really cool content coming out on Tealtown USA, which may or may not involve the new personalities that we're going to be having on the show as well. We'll get them introduced and kind of all brought up to speed, but you're going to see some new fresh faces. They're going to be really cool because they have some unique perspectives. We will also be a lot better about East Coast starts for games because we now have a good contingent out there. And you might also see us in the community a little bit more too. So stay tuned to the website. Stay tuned to the SoundCloud and your podcatchers because we're going to have some really cool, unique stuff coming up this year. It's going to be really awesome.
Yeah, we can't wait to get this season started. I mean, let's be honest. Last night was fun. Today was even more fantastic. You just need to see Erik Carlson in that Sharks jersey. I mean, let's be real here. It's one of those things like, oh my God, this is happening. And man, the way that this team is stacked, you hope this is the deal. Let's hope this is the time that for the Sharks time finally to shine, and probably just in time before another lockout. So nonetheless, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. We truly appreciate it. We might be doing an After Dark, a rare preseason After Dark following Sharks and Ducks tomorrow. And just stay tuned to all of our social media channels, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Instagram, iTunes. You find iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn. just check us out. Just keep Googling Teal Town USA, and you'll find most of our stuff there. And come and check us out. Lanny, what was you saying?
Yeah, the couple of last things. Felix wanted to put up that he's going to have an editorial series coming out. On
Yes.
The website. Also, AJ is going to be putting together a selection of the new food items and beer selections that will also be going up on the site. We also have been floating around the idea of talking about what to do after a game in and around the Shark Tank. And we'll have that series up before the All-Star games because there's going to be a large contingent of people who are not going to know what to do in San Jose. But we've got all the ins and outs. So really, stay tuned to the website. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel. If you haven't already, the little bell icon will get you notifications of when we go live, and you'll never miss us.
Definitely. All right, so you know what to do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and check us out everywhere. Check us out on the website, tealtownusa.com, and we will see you probably tomorrow night after the Sharks and Ducks. And until then, I am Erik Curry. You can always follow me on Puckeye14. Check us out on Teal Town USA across the social media platforms and the .com. Until then, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Thank you for watching and have a great night.